Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the third Spring 2023 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, time to bring you another Spring update. We're up to update number 3 and I shall get some of that for you in a moment. We're going to be looking at autumn to spring data for this one. Wow. Just to say about the first video released today, I don't want to say really. First video today was 6 AM upload. And I'm going to have a 10 to 14 there for you later on this afternoon with all the regular features. Please like, share, and subscribe on the video. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Yeah, thank you so much to Shryan for all the help on the video in terms of getting the years together. Thank you so much to Richard for the amazing spring updates gift, including Jerry. It's Jerry, everybody. Gerald, the Lamb. Thank you so much to Richard and to Jerry. Now, we've named the lamb. I've still got to name the dog, though. So, if you've got any suggestions for the dog's name, then please can you, lovely little spaniel, I love it, please can you post them in the comments with this video, and later on, probably on Wednesday's live stream, we will name the dog, and then we shall have our duo of Jerry and whoever the dog is. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And thank you so much to Richard. I love it, Rich. Thank you so much, my friend, for this year's spring updates gear. Just to say that the spring forecast will be released on Sunday, the 26th of February. So that's the date. We'll be releasing our spring 2023 forecast Sunday, the 26th of February. And it'll be interesting to see what we're forecasting, won't it? We've got lots of updates to do before then, of course. Right, well, let's crack on with the video. Thank you so much to #TeamGav. Now, we're going to start off with the CET for the autumn. So, this is a CET page up UK Met Office at Hadley, of course. If we come down to 2022, which is just here, we can see that it was a very mild autumn. September came out at 14.4. October came out really warm at 12.8. November was very mild as well at 9.2. And so, despite September not being excessively warm, but a bit above average, with the very mild October and November, it did actually place autumn 2022 in the top 10 warmest on record. So very simply, start us off, we're going to be looking at springs following the top 10 warmest autumns. At number 10, we have the autumn of 1978. So the spring of 1979 was very cold and unsettled. Of course, it follows on from the really cold winter of 78-79. And very often when you have a very cold winter, the pattern will carry on into the spring. Modified, of course, especially later on, but the pattern after a very cold winter does tend to carry on into the spring a lot of the time. And that's a very good example of that. So a very cold and wet spring, wintry spring, to start us off. It was even snowing in May of 1979 at times. The next autumn is 2001 at number 9. So at the 9th place, we've got the spring of 2022. This one's a much milder autumn, has low pressure for average heights out to our west, has high pressure over Scandinavia. A lot of the time winds coming up from the south during this autumn. So for this spring, I should say. Very mild spring, a warm spring in 2002. Then we've got number 8, 2009. The autumn of 2009 is the 8th mildest autumn. So spring 2010. Again, same scenario really as like spring 79, in that it's quite a cold spring following from a cold winter. So the spring of 2010, not as dramatically so as like the spring of 79, but nevertheless it is quite a cold spring really. A lot of the time the wind is coming in from the east and the northeast, especially through the earlier part of that spring in 2010. So relatively dry but quite cold. Number 7, we've got 2005, so the spring of 2006. This is another pretty cold one as well, with above average heights in the North Atlantic going back towards Greenland, below average heights over to the east of the country, and winds in from the east and from the northeast a lot of the time during that spring. It's particularly cold through March of 2006. That's quite a cold March. That does last into April as well. And May gets a little bit warmer as we go. Of course, before a very hot summer, May 2006 is quite unsettled, but sees a recovery in the temperature. Then we've got the spring of 1960, following on from the 6th mile of this autumn, which is 1959. And this one has a big high pressure over Scandinavia and lots of east winds. So it's quite a warm and dry spring, I think, in 1960. Right, top 5. At number 5, we've got autumn 2021. So that leaves us with last spring, 2022, which was a very warm and dry spring, of course, with high pressure over and to the east of the country. Winds coming up from the south, has lots of warm and dry weather during the spring of 2022. In some ways, setting up the pattern for the hot summer. And then at number 4, we've got 2014, so the spring of 2015, looks like that, very westerly and zonal, with below average heights to the north and above average heights down to south, winds coming in from a westerly direction. About average temperatures, I think, in that spring, not particularly warm, not particularly cold. At number 3, we've got 2022, and there we are. So autumn 2022 was the third warmest autumn on record for the CET. Spring 2023, what does that have in store for us? What could it have in store? All will be revealed in a few weeks' time. At number 2, we've got 2011, so the spring of 2012 looks like that, with above average heights out to our west, reaching into northwest country. This has a very dry and mild March, a cold and wet April, and then quite a warm May, actually. It does have like the hottest spell of the summer, really, because the summer of 2012 is very bad. So one of the hottest spells of the summer actually occurs in May of 2012. Overall, quite a dry and warm spring, but it does have a cold, wet April. And then at number 1, the mildest autumn on record is 2006. So the spring of 2007 is a warm and dry spring with high pressure reaching in from off Atlantic, low pressure up to the north, particularly warm in April. Has a very warm and dry April, almost summer-like, but March is also very mild and dry. Big flip around in May, though, of course, when it turns much, much, much wetter, and also starts to get quite cool as well, and that leads to the phenomenally wet summer of 2007. Right, let's put all of that together then. So this is how all Marches combined are looking, following the top 10 mildest or warmest autumns, with high pressure over Scandinavia, low pressure out to our west. Looks like a relatively mild or warm signal for those Marches, but could be unsettled in the west, driest of course over there in the east. All Aprils combined looks like that. It does have quite an anticyclonic signal actually, so relatively, a lot of these Aprils are going to be relatively settled, not necessarily all that warm. A lot of them could be bringing in like northwesterly winds, which isn't a particularly warm wind direction, so perhaps like dry, but a lot of them often cool. Bear in mind I've got 2007 in the mix, which is a very warm April though, of course. And then what happens when you get to May? It's how all May's combined looks, following the top 10 mildest autumns. And it does look as though we get a bit of a flip from that high pressure signal to much more in the way of lower pressure in the May. So much cooler and wetter signal when we get into May there. And as far as all springs combined are looking, following the top 10 mildest autumns, we do get some below average heights close to the coast. That's primarily down to May though, so I'm not sure how how relevant that is, because I think May probably skewers that a little bit. We do have a much more anticyclonic signal, particularly in April there actually. So quite an interesting spring, suggesting a relatively dryish sort to the middle part and then much more unsettled later on. We'll also have a look at England Wales precipitation. If we can have a look at that, this is the England Wales precipitation page from Hadley and the UK Met Office. We can go all the way back to 1766 with this. But we come down to last year, the final year, in the index is 2022, and we see that autumn of 2022 had an England Wales precipitation of 363.5 millimetres. And so very simply, we are going to be looking at springs following autumns with an England Wales precipitation range of 345 to 380 millimetres, placing spring 2022 nicely in the middle. The first autumn is 1954, so the spring of 1955 looks like this. Again, it's that same idea, but it had quite a cool spring following a cold winter, so you can see the blocking signal from the winter still maintained to some degree. It's lessened, but it's still there to some degree for the spring of 1955 around Greenland and Iceland. And we have a trough low pressure to our east that brings the wind in from the north-northeast a lot of the time. So quite a cold spring in 1955. The next spring following autumn with a precipitation range of 345 to 380 millimetres is the spring of 1968. This is quite a cool and wet spring. At the last stages of the 1960s with low pressure through western parts of Europe. A little bit of a blog still around Greenland, but not that much. But quite a cool wet spring there in 1968. Then we have got 1975. This is a drier spring with high pressure to our west and northwest, low pressure to our south-southeast. Quite a cold spring this, especially so in April. Has really quite a cold April in 1975 with a lot of late season spring snowfalls and whatnot. It is pretty dry though. It continues to have a dry season through those very dry years of the middle of the 1970s. It's before a very hot summer as well. Then we've got autumn 1974 with an England Wales precipitation range of 345 380 millimetres. That leads us to spring 1985. Again, this is another spring following a cold winter. This again with blocking around Greenland and Iceland, low pressure through the west of Europe. So this is quite a cold spring, particularly so in March of 1985, but cold snaps on and off even into April and May as well through that spring. Then we've got 1999 showing up next. The spring of 1999 is a much milder spring with low pressure or below average heights close to the country. So this has a cold snap in April, but otherwise it's quite a warm spring actually in 1999. Then we've got 2003, and this one with above average heights over and to the east of the country, below average heights out to the west. So this is a warm spring with winds coming up from the south. Very warm, actually, during the spring of 2003. And is kind of setting up the pattern of the hot summer of 2003 as well. Then we've got 2013. So interesting, autumn 2012 had an England Wales precipitation range of 345 380 millimetres. That leads us to spring 2013, which is a cold spring, of course, with blocking around Greenland, below average heights over to the south of the country. Exceptionally cold March in this spring, the coldest March since about 1883 for the CT, I think, and lots of northerly and east winds. April also cold, especially through the first half of the month. I remember the ground being frozen, like even into the first week of April. Very, very unusual spring, very rare spring to be that exceptionally cold. Then it gets milder, second half of April. May 2013 is quite a cool and unsettled month. And then, of course, we've got 2002, we've got 2002, what am I talking about, 2002, we've got 2022, of course. So once again, we've got the question marks here. What does spring 2023 have in store? All will be revealed. We shall see, time will tell. Right, let's put all of that together then. So this is how all March is combined, looking following autumns with an England and Wales precipitation range of 345 to 380 millimetres. Quite a strong blocking signal for these marches around Greenland and Iceland with low pressure to the south. So seemingly a cold scenario is favoured for those marches. But do bear in mind we have got 2013 in the mix, which might be skewering the range a little bit. Nevertheless, quite a cold signal for those marches. All Aprils combined look like that, with a bit of a blocking signal around Greenland, Iceland, below average heights to our east, winds probably favoured still to be coming in from the north, so quite a cool signal still for those Aprils. And then not great, to say the least, for the Mays, because we stick up this big drop of below average heights over the west of Europe, and so that is a very wet and cool signal for those Mays. So not great, actually, for these springs. And this is how the analogue looks overall for all springs combined following autumns with an England and Wales precipitation range of 345 380 millimetres, and it is a very unsettled signal indeed. Very, very, very unsettled, actually. Cold and wet signal for those springs, with again quite a strong blocking signal around Greenland and Iceland. So there we go. That's the third spring update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching the video. Right, so just to say that, as I said at the start of the video, the spring forecast is going to be released on Sunday, the 26th of February. So we've got several more spring updates to do between now and then, and update number 4 will be coming up for you next week. Thank you so much to Shryan for the help on the video. Thanks so much to Shryan for getting all the years ago for us. Thanks so much to Richard Trott, my good friend Rich, for the spring updates gift. Don't forget, we're naming the dog. So we've named the lamb. It's Gerald the lamb, Jerry the lamb. We're going to name the dog next. So please, if you've got any suggestions for the name of our lovely little spaniel there, I love it, then please post it. I'm so sorry, everybody. Please post it in the comments, and we'll probably name the lamb on Wednesday's live stream. Going to do that later on with the 10 to 14 day. So I should see you a little bit later on for that. But for this third spring 2023 update, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.